Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. And I'm going to do this much better if I take these things off. I had to buy some headphones recently. There's always some kind of video recording or video editing going on in our house, with between the online services, the Take 5s, the videos I do for Evangelical Alliance. And of course, there's other people living in the house, and they sometimes sometimes I'm doing editing late at night. I can't keep people awake, so I had to get some headphones. So for me, the headphones, actually the most important thing with the headphones was that they had to be comfortable. I wasn't particularly bothered about the sound quality or anything else. It was simply that I could check the video and listen back to it without disturbing other people. You know, I've never been one for having the little earbuds in my ears that you see so many people using these days. They just really annoy me and aggravate me. In fact, whenever I'm on a flight, unless I have any decent headphones with me and they hand out those silly little earbuds, I actually can't use them. And if I'm watching a film, I'll usually watch a foreign film so I can read the subtitles and not have to listen to the sound. But these are good. These are comfortable. These do the job. However, they really reminded me that sometimes we have a temptation in our lives that we want to just blot out the sound of what's happening round about us in order to help us to be comfortable. Now, some of you may be saying, well, hang on, but that's a good thing. Surely that's a good thing that we can concentrate on Jesus, that we can spend time with him and not be distracted by all the stuff that's going on round about us. And to a certain extent, yeah. But, you know, we live in a world where people are hurting. We live in a world where people are crying out in pain. And if we want to be like God, then we will hear their cry. You know, when God appeared to Moses in the burning bush, he said to Moses, I have heard the cry of my people. God was not just up there in heaven, dwelling in unapproachable light, having wonderful music with an angelic host round about him and putting on the headphones so that he wouldn't have to listen to the cries of the Israelites as they suffered in slavery. God heard their cries. And if we are to be godly, we need to hear the cry of the hurting. We need to hear the cry of the lonely. We need to hear the cry of those that are suffering persecution. We need to hear the cry of those that are suffering racial discrimination. We need to hear the cry of the unborn children who have their life snuffed out and cannot raise a voice of protest themselves. You know, sometimes we want to choose the cries that we hear. Sometimes we want to hear one kind of cry because it fits in with our political viewpoints, and we blot out another kind of cry because it doesn't fit in with our preconceived agendas. A few months ago, I watched a very painful exchange on Facebook, where somebody was making a statement about a particular social issue without thinking about how it hurt others. And somebody that was suffering deep pain and rejection through the very issue that this guy was speaking about was truly hurt by his words. And at first I'm just cringing as I'm reading this exchange taking place. But then I saw this guy's heart begin to change, and he suddenly came to a moment of contrition and repentance when he realized how deaf he had been to the suffering of a fellow believer. He had his headphones on, so he couldn't hear. And we can't afford to do that. I would ask you to pray today that God will give you a listening ear and a tender heart to hear those who are hurting, to hear their cries. So sometimes sometimes hurting people don't always express it well. Sometimes they come across as rude, as angry in their desperation. And we should not just be turned off by that. But we truly, if we are people who truly want to be like Jesus Christ, we've got to be people who keep an ear out for the cries of the hurting. We've got to hear the cry of God's people suffering in Egypt. So I want to encourage you today. I encourage you to enjoy God's presence today. I encourage you to live for him. I encourage you to concentrate on spending quality time with the Lord in prayer and in reading his word. But I will also encourage you, if you really want to be like God, to listen for the cry of God's people. Listen for the cry of those who are hurting. Listen to the cry of those who are vulnerable. Because when you hear their cry and begin to respond to their cry, then that is true godliness. May God help you to do that today. And please join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.